Okay, so this episode opens with Kamala helping Devi get ready for their holiday. It's a Hindu holiday called Ganesh Puja, and they're attending. I guess this is their first time attending since her father passed away. So they stopped to get coffee, and this was one of the most... I'm like, can you... if there was a scene that says entitlement without saying entitlement, this would be the scene. So Devi is in line, waiting to place her order, and there was this woman with her young daughter standing directly behind her. And so the little girl pulled on Devi's clothes and asked her if she was Princess Jasmine. And which, okay, that was kind of cute, okay. And she said, oh, no, I'm not, but she's very beautiful.
Are you Princess Jasmine?
No, but thank you. She's very beautiful.
So the mom taps Devi on the shoulder and was like, can my daughter have a picture with you? You look amazing, and it's really, you look very cultural. And so, of course, Devi was, she really wasn't feeling, she didn't want to take the picture.
No thanks. Oh, she'd really love to put it on her Instagram. It's so cultural.
And then she starts saying, I think people post too much about their lives online, da-da-da-da. And so there was this white guy standing behind this woman with a little girl saying, she's just a little girl. And how he saw her on Twitter the whole time, and she accepted some offer for was it Target or something like. It was like the entitlement was just rolling off these people. Like she should want to take this picture because y'all think she should want to take this picture because this little girl has this idea in her head that she looks like Princess Jasmine.
She's just a little girl.
Okay, sir, you don't have to say it like that.
So I found that scene quite offensive. In the end, which I hate, she gave in and took the photo with the little girl. So I'm like, damn, I wish we would have stuck to our gun and said no.
Let's just take the photo. Go.
Okay. Maybe it's me. Am I being evil? Am I being mean? No, I don't think so. I would have said no. So they arrive at the event, which just happens to be at Devi's high school, and the aunties. So, of course... these aunties are it could be just like older women who knows your family, or just like how we say people that we grew up with are our cousins, but we're not biological cousins, but because we grew up together, we consider them family cousins. So that's how this situation is when she was saying how the aunties was approaching. So one auntie, they were very nasty, right? So they're very nice, nasty. So one auntie was like, it's good to see that you're no longer a cripple, talking to Devi, right?
Oh, it's so good to see you, Aunt Devi. What a relief to see you no longer a cripple.
And then the other auntie made it about herself, right? Her comment was basically, I asked God based on my virtue if he could bless your family after all that you guys have been through. So it was because of her virtue and her prayers is why Devi started walking again.
No matter why you have chosen to curse them, please cure her as a reward for my virtue.
And so, of course, Devi had to be sarcastic. She was like, well, it must have been your prayers that did it. Mm-hmm. And then there was another auntie who was talking to Milani and was like, I know exactly what you went through. She started talking about how her husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and of course, Milani was like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And she was like, oh, he made it. He's actually been training to run the 4K or some event.
I know exactly how you feel. My husband Pradeep had testicular cancer.
And so, of course, Milani was like, oh, you're right. You know exactly what I'm going through. Mm-hmm. So it was like one of those situations. They were very, like I said, nasty. So Devi eventually excused herself. She was going to find one of her friends. And this was an interesting conversation. I can't remember the guy's name, but he is home from school. He attends Stanford. And, of course, she's clowning him like, why would you come back here to, for Ganesh Puja? Because apparently, they used to complain about having to go to the ceremony. And he told her that he actually missed coming back and, participating in the ceremony. And of course, she was like, are you serious? She basically was like feeling his head. Like, do you have a temperature? Or, did they send you home on medical leave? Like, really kind of clowning him, right?
No. Look, I know I used to clown on this every year, but the truth is,
Kind of miss Pooja.
Are you kidding?
And it was interesting because he said that, you know, how he used to feel that way until he got to college, and his roommate is Native American, and his roommate, ended up taking him to a powwow that they had on campus.
But then he took me to their campus powwow. No one was standing in the corner making fun of it.
And he was saying how, you know, it seemed like everybody was just happy. Nobody was standing around, you know, looking like they were, forced happiness and all this, things that people do when they attend something that they really don't want to be. So, and he said that that's when he, realized that, maybe, things aren't so bad. So it was interesting that until he saw another person taking pride in their culture, it kind of opened his eyes, and I guess it made him feel okay with taking pride in his own culture.
Having a great time, and made me think, why do I think it's so weird and embarrassing to be Indian?
So, that was the gist of the conversation he had with Devi, which I thought was interesting. Like, it took somebody else taking pride in their culture for you to be okay with taking pride in your culture, which I think it happens a lot. But it was, just an interesting conversation, I thought. Okay, so there was this scene when they went in to say their prayers. So, Devi, Nalini, and Kamala, they went up and they said their prayers. And the man, his name is Pandit Raja. I guess, is their spiritual leader. And so, he would go up to them and he would give them something that they would ingest, and then I guess some kind of prayer they would say, and they would put some oil on their forehead. And so when he got to Kamala, he was like, "You don't want to get married?" She never said a word, but he could just, how he knew that, I don't know. He was like, you don't want to get married? And so, of course, she went through the process with the oil on her head, and she got up and she walked away. So we flash to Devi. She's now going to find Counselor Ron. So her mother talked to her early about him being there. He's married. His wife is Indian. And so he is a counselor who has a lot of connections to Ivy League colleges. So she thought that, Nalini thought it would be a good idea for Devi to find him and kind of talk to him and to see how he can help her get into her dream school. So she found him, and of course she started some small talk with him. And he basically said that colleges are looking for more than just another Indian person with a padded resume, because she was going down all the list of things that she does, all her AP classes and her volunteer work and things of that nature.
But schools don't want another Indian tryhard who is president of the Padded Resume Club.
Colleges are looking for, students with interesting stories. And then he started talking about a student who was in a car accident, who had a near-death experience, and the Lord told him that he should attend Yale or Stanford or some Ivy League school, and he got in. And so then he was like, "I remember you. You're the girl whose father died at one of her events, had a heart attack." And so he's basically saying that if she used that story, that she would be able to get into any school. He can get her into any school she wants. And she basically said, "No, I'm not going to use my father's death like that."
You have the golden ticket. If you're willing to talk about it, I bet I can get you into any school you want.
And she got upset and basically told him off and walked away. So we go to the cafeteria. Kamala and Nalini, they got their food, and Kamala was put into a table with a woman who was sitting by herself, and Nalini was like, no, we just gonna go down here.
Oh, look, an open table. Oh, no, that's okay.
And so, of course, Kamala was like, why could we just sit there? And she, told her story about how, her family found this nice man back home for her to marry, and she ends up marrying an American Muslim, and they haven't spoken since. And basically, she is outcast. Nobody sits next to her. Nobody talks to her. She is just basically out there on her own. And so after they finished eating, Kamala went to dump the food and put the tray up. And so she had forgotten her phone on the table. So the woman walked up with her phone and telling her, you had left it on the table. And so she invited her to step out. And so they talked a little bit. And she was telling her how she, thinking back on it, she made a poor decision. At this point, her and this man is now divorced. and she still doesn't have a relationship with her parents. And basically her parting words to Kamala was, good luck on your engagement, and basically don't make the mistake that I did.
But hey, good luck on your engagement, and don't screw it up. Yeah?
So it left Kamala with something to think about. So Kamala and Nalini meet up again, and they're now looking for Devi. And Devi Kamala went to find Devi, and Pandit Raj walked up. It was Nalini and the other aunties that were being nasty to her in the beginning. He needed a ride to Home Depot, so the aunties was like, oh, I could take you there, I would be an honor, So Nalini kind of jumped in front of them and was like, I'll do it. And so you can kind of see their faces like, oh, okay. So eventually, they all in the car, they head to Home Depot. And, Devi was like how she had a good time, and how she liked the incense because they smelled like weed. So, of course, you saw her mother's face like, oh, God, I can't believe she just said that to this man. But he wasn't even bothered. He was like, yeah, I sell them. You can buy those incense on my website. And he gave them the web address. Because we never miss an opportunity to make a coin or two. So, yeah, go to my address, webaddress.com, and you can get them incense. So, Nalini was like, how she had a great time as well. And he was like, well, I hope, the ceremony has provided you guys some clarity. And so you kind of saw Kamala look back at him, and kind of she's in the front seat, so she kind of looked back to the front, kind of slouched down in her seat, and you kind of saw his facial expression because because of the comment he made before, like how she doesn't want to get married, like he just saw right through her, and she's like, oh God. So they eventually drop him off at Home Depot, and he walked in, and that's pretty much how this episode ends. So like I said, a whole lot didn't happen in this episode, but there were some good parts. So yeah, I'm going to end this here, and I'll talk to you guys later.